The best progress that you can make on your health and fitness journey is when you stop micromanaging every single step and trust the process that you're committed to. Now, I get it. A lot of times we want to kind of have everything figured out before we get going. Otherwise, we'll feel like, oh gosh, I'm just dabbling and going all in different directions, right? And I get that. It's easy to feel impatient when you don't see immediate results. When I first started my journey, I was like, oh, you know what? I almost didn't start at all because I was doing this micromanaging thing. I was trying to figure out everything. I didn't want to start working out and figure that I was going to put in all this effort and not see results. So why even bother? That was my mentality at the time. And I did that cycle over and over and over again. And I got to a point where I was so frustrated with my how out of shape I was, how overwhelmed, how stressed out. And I'm like, what if I didn't do that anymore? Now I know, easier said than done, right? And when you don't see immediate results, like maybe you've worked out 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, and you thought you'd lose 10, 20, 30 pounds by then, or maybe you got a little bit stronger and you're not seeing those results, it's really easy to figure out or to think, oh, I picked the wrong plan, or maybe you should do something different, or this thing doesn't work, it's too corny, or I'm just not cut out for this. You can end up talking yourself out of those things, right? When you've got big goals. But here's the thing. Lasting success, and I hope this is valuable to you for today's podcast, lasting results, the success isn't about the quick wins, although those are great to have, right? Sometimes we get the quick wins, we kind of get a little overconfident and we kind of settle. It's really about showing up every day and trusting that your actions are going to create the future that you want, trusting the process. And I get it. Sometimes it's like, oh, that sounds kind of hokey and corny, Perry. But man, consistent actions, the actions you can improve and shift over time. But unless you get those habits down and those things going and just trusting the process of what you're showing up to do and want to accomplish, you'll dabble and get distracted by the next shiny object that comes along. So before we get into all this great stuff on this podcast today, I do want to welcome you to another Power Blast podcast and direct you over to talktoperry.com. That's where I have the site's wide open for podcast viewers like you. So I appreciate you tuning in here on YouTube. Happens to be Thanksgiving weekend 2024, Thanksgiving in the U.S. anyway. We do celebrate the Canadian one as well. We've got a couple nationalities in our household. So we celebrate many different things. But I just want to help you reach your goals. So head over to talktoperry.com, and it's exactly the way it's spelled, TALKTO, and then my first name, PERRY.com. It's all yours. You are welcome. So one of the hardest parts about change, and I know people don't necessarily want change, they want transformation, right? But it's trusting what you're doing is actually going to work. So there's a great book out there. There's a lot of great books out there, right? One that I turn to from time to time, Price Pritchett, UV2, U version 2. I love it. Very short read, easy, fast read, maybe 35, 40 pages long. But as I was dabbling in that the other day, or looking through it the other day, he talks about letting go of the need to control every detail and learning to trust the process. And I've worked a lot of clients that want to know how to have everything figured out, especially when certain things happen and how they're going to react and how life is going to just fall into place. And what happens when it doesn't, right? And then we get easily sidetracked. Now, I'm not talking about just going into a fitness plan blindly or health nutrition plan blindly. I love having a plan, following a roadmap, knowing that you may improve it. But the thing is to not do what I used to do, which was to try and find every crack and flaw in the plan of why it wouldn't work for you. It's just like, you know what? I'm just going to show up, trust the process over the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, and improve on it. I wouldn't look at the plan as like, I can't wait till I'm done with this plan. I would keep always going, and I'm going to improve on it. I'm going to find out what's next. I'm going to keep going and growing, right? And that means really having confidence in the plan that you're committed to without overanalyzing it and without having to rethink it. Now, I'm one that would get into the trenches and try to look at all the details and go, well, that won't work because I don't have the time for this. Well, that won't work because I can't commit to eating like that. Or, and I realized I was trying to find out what are all the reasons why it won't work so I can keep myself stuck and frustrated for life. I'm like, stop that. For example, if you've decided to follow a specific fitness program or maybe even a meal plan, just focus on just doing today. That's one of the mantras that I was doing for myself, is just saying, put yourself first and just do today. Just do today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about next week. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, we're going to be going out for pizza on Friday. Oh my gosh, it's going to take me off. Why even bother? No, that's the overanalyzing stuff. And when the results haven't shown up yet, that can be a really uncertain place to be. But when you start believing in yourself to just show up and do today, put yourself first, do the things that you need to do, results will come when your actions are consistent. If you think about anything you've accomplished in life, that has typically been the case. So you've got proof there. It's just you haven't used it in fitness, or at least I hadn't at the time. Trusting the process, it means that growth isn't always obvious. Wow. It's not always obvious. Well, some days are going to feel harder than others. Some days you're not going to feel motivated. Some day the traffic is going to be yucky. Some days you're just going to try and talk yourself out of doing it. And that's where you need to lean into the idea that change happens over time. It's not going to happen overnight. Change happens over time, not overnight. And that's just one thing to say, you know what, I'm just going to do today. And so I created, and I'm willing to share this with you if you reach out to me, Perry at putyourselffirst.com. Put yourself first. There it is again. But just to create a simple plan, like a no matter what plan, I called it my no matter what plan. That was where I was committing to 15 minutes of a program, of the routine that I had set for the day, in case it was kind of my safety net, in case I was unmotivated, too busy, all the stuff. I was trying to talk myself out of it. I'm like, you've got to commit to at least 15 minutes. And almost every time I committed to that 15 minutes, it led to me finishing the workout, because starting was the big important thing, developing the habits. And then I'm a person who exercises. I always show up every day, and that's the mindset I had. So, when you stop second guessing the system that you've created, or at least the one that you've committed to, maybe you didn't create the system, that is liberating. I think a lot of times we can feel like we're bogged down and locked into a box, but when you commit to a system, like for me, I committed to working out at home, so I took away the variable of having to get to a gym. I found a trainer that I could follow right on my TV set. So it took out the guesswork of what exercises I needed to do. I just followed the plan from day to day to day. And that frees up your mental energy to actually stick with it. Now, I know for a while I was putting my mental energy in trying to get myself out of it. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to show up and do the work. I'm going to trust the process. I've never done that before. So it didn't matter whether I was doing it right or not. I would learn along the way. And I found week after week, I got a little bit stronger. Month after month, all of a sudden my size started to shift. My weight started to shift. And I realized, this is a lifelong thing. I like this. Now, in my mind, I didn't want to commit for life. I just wanted it to be over with. But that was a big aha moment there. It's like, you know what? This is a lifelong process. This is because you want to be healthy, fit, fulfilled for a lifetime. You then be consistent with these actions, because every time you get off track, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get back on track and to I'm like, why just keep the momentum going? Just why not make that who you are? I'm a person who shows up for my nutrition. I'm a person who shows up for my exercise each day. Might not be perfect every time, but I show up. That's who I am. And I can help you do that too. You head over to talktoperry.com. Let's talk about your life goals. Let's talk about the things that are draining your mental and your physical battery, because we go about life, a lot of us, we do go about life like we are a 6-year-old smartphone, 2% battery life, no charger in sight, right? So I want to help you have that breakthrough. I'll share my Power of 5 strategy with you so that you can reclaim that power of yours and recharge for real, for real results. So that's talktoperry.com. The process that you've committed to, that's your pathway to your growth. It's not about perfection. It's not about micromanaging all of the little nuances of it to say, well, I'm going to get this or this won't work, or finding the crack and flaw. It really is just about consistency, trust, doing your best. Tony Horton says, do your best and forget the rest, right? Just putting yourself first and just do today, because every step forward, that moves you closer to your goals. Maybe not as fast as you want, but it moves you closer to your goal. I think of my friend Judy, who at 320 pounds, she's like, you know what? I want to lose 200 pounds. I'm like, whoa, why that? And she gave me a clear answer why that and how she was going to do it. She didn't worry about, and she didn't know how exactly she was going to do it. She just had a plan for how she was going to do it. And she did. She was now down to 120. And she did that at the age of 69, I think, 69, 70, somewhere in there. All you need to do is show up, trust the journey that you've chosen, and just know you've got the power to choose and take control. Or you can let the justifications, the excuses, the finding the cracks and the flaws, comparing yourself to others on social media, all that stuff, you can let that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing with consistency to yourself and your goals, and choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, learning and growing, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. You can drop those down in the comments. I promise I will respond. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness Community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find the show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.